The Dream SMP blew up insanely fast and brought a lot of change to the Minecraft YouTube space, and I mean a lot. That's why in this video I'll be breaking down why the Dream SMP is the worst thing, or at least one of the worst things, that's happened to Minecraft YouTube in a while. Now, wait, I know, this seems like overly harsh criticism, right? What kind of stupid person would say that this massive phenomenon is the worst thing that's happened to Minecraft and then put that on a platform which that phenomenon made, which reaches thousands? Well, me. But what I'm trying to say is this video is actually part 2 of a 2-part series I'm making, and part 1 is about why the Dream SMP is the best thing that's happened to Minecraft. I'm trying to cover both sides, so once you're done with this video, go check that one out. Okay, so why is the Dream SMP so bad? Well, let's start with the oversaturation of the Minecraft space that it single-handedly caused. Oversaturation that took 2 forms. I mentioned in the first part of this video that Dream SMP revived SMPs as a genre, but what I didn't touch on there is that because of the mass appeal of Dream SMP and the sheer volume of new SMPs being created seemingly every day, the entire effect of SMPs, the entire reason they might have once done well, was slowly removed. With constant new SMPs with a fun new twist that had already been done 5 times before, the audience that was going to watch these SMPs lost interest in them. However big that audience was, it was limited, and the oversaturation of the space, especially on Twitter, led to the genre devolving among smaller creators into clout-chasing servers that would run for about 2 weeks before shutting down or never being streamed again. The sheer reach of the Dream SMP meant that the competition created amongst small SMPs caused them all to do badly, with quite literally no exceptions. The only SMPs that still survive, thrive, and expand now are either those with a large following on TikTok or YouTube, or those which are made by much larger creators, like Offline TV for example. Apart from that though, there's another thing. They've oversaturated the Minecraft YouTube space as a whole, not directly, but indirectly, with clips and compilation channels dominating the scene, and let me explain exactly what I mean here. Clips channels are normal, and they're not a new phenomenon. They've been around for ages and will continue to be around years after the SMP is dead, and if you don't believe me, just look at Musical Comedy, a Bo Burnham clips channel that has survived for just over 4 years, with almost exclusively Bo Burnham content, although Bo himself has made next to nothing in that time. The problem is that usually large creators take up the first few search results when you're looking for a topic, and then after that, the algorithm gives way to smaller channels, or even medium-sized ones, meaning that growth is possible with your own content, even if it's slower than it might normally be. Clips channels completely destroyed that equilibrium by flooding the Minecraft space with hundreds, if not thousands of clips that all do reasonably well, or at least that all seem to do reasonably well, thanks to the sheer volume of clips being published. This makes it extremely hard for smaller and medium-sized channels to grow, stifling the growth of original content creators, making it even harder for the community as a whole to sustain itself in the long term. It also tends to streamline and homogenize a space that has always been quintessentially known for its diversity, making it much harder for a large portion of a new audience to find anyone except their favorite creators, unless they're added to the SMP or talk about the SMP or are just incredibly lucky. The feedback loop that the clips channels create is great for the larger creators because it means that their content is bound to do that much better, with clips channels and compilations or edits filling in when the actual SMP members aren't making content and ensuring that they continue to grow, but this growth is at the expense of smaller creators. If you're a smaller creator, you either have to make content similar enough to the SMP that it becomes part of the feedback loop, or risk your channel dying for good. This is why there are so many clips channels, because they've become the only way for creators under a certain size to survive in this ecosystem without being subsumed into an already existing one like MCN. This leads me directly on to my second point, and this one is fairly personal to me. The SMP as a topic can pigeonhole creators, making it so that they can't really make non-SMP related content without completely dropping their entire audience. This means that the vibrant subculture that's developed around the SMP, from analyzers to lore theories to animatics, all of it is entirely dependent on, well, not the SMP so much as the SMP members. It means that I can't make a non-Dream SMP related video without it doing much worse than every other video I post around it, even despite it being about an interesting or trending topic like MCC. Could you imagine what would happen if I stopped making content related to the members of the SMP at all? Well, you don't have to, because you can see it anyway. It's happened already. This channel, called Maish, or Maish, I don't know how to say it, used to dominate the animatic space with their short, really snappy and funny videos, and before they left, they pulled well over 1 million views on 5 consecutive videos. Then they came back with a Star Wars animation of arguably higher quality and similar length, for all algorithmic intents and purposes, content that the people who theoretically subscribe to them for their art, and that completely tanked in comparison. This is a slightly more drastic example, but there's more, like this video I made, which proves that the second the SMP ends, or one stops making SMP related content, views, subscribers, every metric will not only go down, but all your progress also gets effectively reset. This can even be a negative for later, because the sheer volume of subscribers who don't click on a video because it's not Dream SMP makes a video seem absolutely horrendous to the algorithm from the get-go. Now, this doesn't really apply to the SMP streamers themselves, but it does apply to, as I've said before, the fairly vibrant and honestly massive subculture that has developed around the SMP. There are very few channels who have escaped from the dreaded pigeonhole that is the SMP, and to do so requires a mix of insane success, a painstaking mixing of content in patient with metrics, and even then requires luck. This once again leads me almost directly onto my next point. Thanks to Dream SMP's size as a fandom and the overwhelming involvement of specifically SMP members with mainstream YouTube, it's very easy to think that the Dream SMP is all of Minecraft YouTube. Hell, even avid SMP watchers make this mistake on a regular basis. The constant feedback loop I mentioned earlier doesn't help with this at all, helping to keep viewers in the Dream SMP bubble and making sure that if you're not talking about the SMP, related to the SMP, or part of it, you cannot access this massive and incredibly diverse group of people that are accessible to the people the YouTube algorithm forces you to directly compete against. That's a whole other point, but what I'm talking about here is because of this bubble, it's very easy to think that the Dream SMP fandom is representative of all of the Minecraft fandom, and because of the minority of extremely toxic members of the community, which are, to be fair, concentrated amongst the Dream SMP community, which are especially on Twitter, but also surprisingly prevalent on YouTube as well, it's easy to get a very bad impression of Minecraft as a whole. That means that even though the SMP is drawing all these new eyes and ears to Minecraft, it might sour an opinion that was just neutral to a negative, not directly, but indirectly, for the simple reason that it's infinitely easier to find hate comments and toxic behavior and similar horrible things on the internet than even a majority nice side of the fandom. That is, unfortunately, how the internet works. Let me elaborate for just a second on this with my next point. The Dream SMP has such a hegemony over the Minecraft space at this point that potential new fans or creators who aren't related to the SMP but by some miracle still find them tend to overlook them. Why do I say this? Well, put simply, the SMP is now a full-time thing, for want of a better word, to keep track of. The whole reason it does so well is because with people being invested in the story so heavily and content being created at such an overwhelming rate, it feels like you have to watch as much as you can so you don't miss out on anything, and this is being compounded by semi-lore streams as well. That fear of missing out, that stress, unintentionally or intentionally, is a major force behind what drives the SMP's success. That means that although you watched episode 1 of Hermitcraft Season 8, although you enjoyed it, although you would have watched it if you otherwise had had the time, because of the constant stress and need to watch Dream SMP videos, you probably won't continue to watch Hermitcraft, and this effect only compounds as the creator gets smaller and the lore gets more complex on the SMP. The other side of this coin is that while the SMP does well to capitalize on and create a need for its content, it then alienates potential viewers who are not as invested by presenting the content in a way that makes it inaccessible, and this is something that I have been guilty of myself before. How many times have you heard me say, oh, if you want to understand what's going on in the SMP, here's an explainer video I made, but for now just watch this video since it doesn't require any knowledge from the last series or lore videos. Or maybe you've heard me say, hey, if you want to find out what the hell I'm talking about, go to here and watch this video. The issue with both of these statements is that they make it sound like there are two parts of the content, the stuff that people can jump into without prior knowledge, and the content which is for those who wanted to know everything. The reality is, almost all videos on a channel should be able to be watched without prior knowledge or experience with the channel, and if a creator thinks that this is not true of their videos, in most cases, it's time for them to reevaluate how they create content. Think about it. For example, if I had a Minecraft Let's Play, would you want me to explain what I'm doing in every video? Or maybe you don't care too much about why I built something or just how I did it. Well, if the majority of my viewers are more interested in the how, then that just means my videos are more to their liking. However, if most of them want the why or have some knowledge of the series already, then I need to make sure that I'm catering for them as well. This is how a creator can grow and why the Dream SMP isn't really growing, because it has become so exclusive with its content that new potential viewers get excluded by feeling like they don't know enough about what's going on in the series. No matter how many entire lore videos are made, there will always be too much lore that's built up after those videos to catch up on. And since there's so much, people aren't going to watch multiple 1 hour or 2 hour videos just to catch up on the lore of the SMP. No matter how much you exaggerate it, there is a massive difference between knowing something and not knowing something, and to an outsider who has never heard of the Dream SMP but just stumbled across 1 or 2 videos by pure chance, they didn't know anything at all. They can only watch that one video without being able to understand what's going on, and because this doesn't cater to them, they may never come back. This is also why I don't want to just make my videos longer by dumping a whole bunch of lore into them, even though it might be interesting for fans of the series, because I know that there will always be people who are new to it or who have missed recent episodes or streams who won't understand what the hell is going on and will get bored. As a whole, what the Dream SMP transformed the Minecraft YouTube community into is not a healthy environment for creators to be in. It's one that I personally believe should change. There are many more problems with the SMP, but this video has gone on long enough, and as you can probably tell from my tone, I think that changes need to happen sooner rather than later. The problem is though, how? It's all very well for me to just sit here and complain, but how would we fix this? It seems like an impossible task given how ingrained into Minecraft YouTube culture the SMP has become. What if instead of trying to fix the SMP itself, which would be incredibly difficult, we just tried fixing its most glaring issue? The fact that it's a monopoly. Now, I can already hear the cries of, but there are other SMPs out there, and while this is true, they don't really have the same level of prestige or recognition as the Dream SMP. There are only 1 or 2 that come close. This means that they can easily be overlooked by creators and viewers alike. What if we, me and you, yes, you who's watching it now, tried to make these alternative SMPs just as big? By supporting other servers and groups of YouTubers, there would be healthy competition in the genre and would topple the monopoly of the Dream SMP that it seems to have right now. It would also disincentivize people from quitting the SMP entirely because of how much more content you could put out on an alternative account without losing all of your subscribers in comparison. It would mean that streamers who want to do stuff outside of Minecraft but still keep their audience could do so without having to worry about doing worse than their SMP related content. Videos like mine or Maisches mentioned earlier. If you'd like to support some smaller SMPs even while watching the Dream SMP, here are some good recommendations. Hermitcraft, which is already quite big but a good one to start out with and which just started a new season. Vault Hunters, which has a couple of Dream SMP members but also a lot of new people as well as their own custom mod pack. Empires SMP, which is one of the more recent ones by some of the old SMP space. Psycraft, a classic server which uses redstone and game mechanics to do quite literally the impossible in Minecraft survival. And Truly Bedrock SMP, which is a Bedrock survival server. There are naturally a lot more great SMPs, and if you know of any good ones people should check out, feel free to shout them out in the comments below. I also stream some SMPs on Twitch, so follow me over there. The final issue I'm going to mention is one that I think most people will agree with. The SMP is incredibly stale. It seems like every arc is just a different variant on the same thing. Betrayal, making a new country, a new character is being manipulated by a different person. And while this isn't necessarily a bad thing, because repetition isn't a problem in and of itself, I think that if we had more variety, then people would be less likely to burn out of Minecraft content entirely. I know this video is going to be controversial, but I'm not trying to call out any specific creator or group here, just the system as a whole. Since you seem to like this video, I'd recommend checking out part 1 of this two-parter.